ximaging.com or call 352-266-0333 for your free document management evaluation today.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. A few weeks ago, there was a news article that indicated that scientists had discovered, I think it was 7 planets in the constellation Orion, if I'm remembering right. I'm not good at this, but I love this. I'm not good at it, but I love it. And this is what I remember from the story. I remember that they said that the planets were 40 light years away, which I guess is kind of close compared to a lot of things out there in outer space, right?
I think so.
But if you think about that, just imagine that somebody is standing on one of those planets, right? And they have a telescope and they can see us really, really, really clearly, like they got a super telephoto lens or something. If they were looking at us, they wouldn't see the year 2017. They would see, 1977?
Yeah.
That 40 years ago?
Yep.
So can you imagine? I mean, that's like looking back in time. So if we look at their planet, and of course, it's kind of far-fetched, I guess, that you could see that clearly, but can you imagine that? So I don't know, like when you hear about a planet that, or a star, for example, that's, 100,000 light years away, you think 100,000 light years, that means the light's been traveling 100,000 years. The thing could be gone by now for all we know, right?
Right.
It's, I don't know, outer space study is such a fascinating topic for me. That's why I liked the idea that we were going to speak about this. The book is called Exoplanets. It is written by Michael Summers and James Trefil. Michael is on the phone. Michael is a planetary scientist. He's the professor of physics and astronomy at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Since 1989, he has served on the mission teams of several NASA space probes. He's a co-investigator on NASA's New Horizons mission to the Pluto-Charon double planet. Don't even know what that is.
It's cool.
So now Pluto is part of a double planet. It got demoted. Now it's got a friend. And he serves as the deputy lead of the Atmospheres theme team. My gosh, Exoplanets is the book. Michael Summers, a lot of intro there, but I don't know. Can you tell I'm excited about this topic? Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you right now?
I'm in Fairfax, Northern Virginia, George Mason University at my office. So can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine you on another planet. So
all right. I tried to imagine that too myself.
When we see pictures, now I know this is not the topic, but when we see pictures of the Earth in the dinosaur times, the artists who render the landscape, not the animals, but the landscape, it looks like another planet. It doesn't even look like what we know as Earth.
It does. Most of Earth history, the Earth was quite different than it is now. We're just getting a snapshot of what the Earth has been like through 4.5 billion years. I mean, planets are a lot like people. They're born, they have a life, they change over time, and eventually, sometimes planets even die. I mean, we're a long way away from that for the Earth, so you don't have to worry about it. But every planet is in some ways like a person. It's unique, and it has its own story.
Now, so far, we don't know of any other planet with life, correct?
That's right. We're still looking for signatures of life elsewhere, but it's really hard. It's really hard to detect life on another planet unless it's intelligent life and beaming a signal directly towards you. Otherwise, it's just really difficult.
What is your hunch? What is your hunch about that topic? Is it?
Yeah, that's the most common question I get. If I was betting on it, I would bet probably 100-to-1 odds that there's life out there somewhere else in our galaxy, at least at the level of bacterial life. And I'd probably bet 10-to-1 that there's intelligent life out there, more advanced than us, more intelligent than us, maybe more civilized than us.
But wouldn't it therefore also be logical that there would be intelligent life that is where we were during the Stone Age? I mean, isn't it possible we could land on a planet and find the same situation we had here in I don't know, caveman days or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many planets that almost anything you imagine is possible out there. I tell my students there are 400 billion planets in our galaxy. And that's more planets than the number of people that have ever lived on this Earth. And if you spread that out through the observable universe, just what we can see, you project that out, you estimate how many planets there are out there in the observable universe. There are more habitable planets like the Earth than the number of heartbeats of every person that's ever lived.
Wow.
Those are the kind of numbers you're talking about.
Wow.
And that's habitable planets. That's not all the planets. That's just the ones that we think are habitable.
All right. Just to educate me a little bit on this, when we say when that report said that there were 7 planets in the constellation Orion, is Orion part of our galaxy?
Yeah, almost every star you see in the sky is a part of our galaxy. We're about 2/3 of the way out from the center of the Milky Way. We're sort of in the boondocks of the galaxy. Stars are sort of sparsely populated here. So everything we see in the sky with our naked eye, that's part of our galaxy. And so we've only looked at a very tiny fraction of our galaxy so far for planets elsewhere. The TRAPPIST-1 system was really spectacular because there's 7 Earth-like planets, not just planets, but Earth-like planets around what we call an M dwarf, a small star, which is the most common type of star in the galaxy. And that suggests that Earth-like planets are much more common than we even thought. And 3 of those 7 planets are at the right distance from the central star so that you could have liquid water. You could have oceans of water on the surface. So 3 of those 7 could be habitable. So it was spectacular. Even for those of us who study exoplanets, it was jaw-dropping surprise. It was just amazing.
What is the criteria for the definition of a planet? We were kind of taken aback and saddened when Pluto was demoted to a dwarf planet.
Oh, I was depressed for years afterwards. It was so sad. It is a controversial issue. The decision that was taken to demote Pluto wasn't made by most of the planetary scientists in the world, and so that has left sort of a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And in my opinion, Pluto should be classified as a planet, just based upon simple physics. It's big enough to be round, but it's not too big to be a star. And that's the most plausible, most reasonable definition you can have. Now, to some extent, it doesn't matter. Pluto doesn't change. It's still an amazing world, no matter what you call it. I mean, it has an atmosphere, it has climate change, it has glaciers, it has active geology.
Wow.
It even has, now get this, there's evidence that underneath the ice crust on Pluto, there's an ocean of liquid water that's larger in volume than all the oceans on Earth. I mean, think about that. More liquid water inside Pluto than there is on the Earth. And we see organic material on the surface of Pluto, which is complex organic compounds, which we don't quite understand.
Really?
Yet.
Well, that would mean life, wouldn't it?
No. Yeah, those are the requirements for life. It doesn't mean that there's life there.
Okay.
And that's one of the big issues right now, or I guess the big motivating factors towards the search for life. We see that the requirements for life are all over the place. There's liquid water on most of the planets in our solar system. We find organic materials, the raw materials for life. We find energy sources just about everywhere we look on planets. There are some planets that are too hot and some too cold, but most of them are in the right range of where you could have at least bacterial life, if not advanced life.
How do we know so much about exoplanets? But yet it seems like we don't know a whole lot about Mars, which is like, what is that? Is that the closest planet to us?
Well, Venus is actually closer physically. In terms of the characteristics, Mars is a little bit more like the Earth. It's closer in the characteristics. And actually, we do know quite a bit about Mars. We've been studying Mars with robotic spacecraft since the early 60s. So we know a lot about its atmosphere, its surface, about its geology, about how it was born and how it's evolved over time. And there's even signatures, or what we call biomarkers, of potential life underneath the surface of Mars. But that would only be bacterial life. But planets elsewhere are really extremely difficult to detect, and it's only been in the last 30 years that we've been able to detect them. But the technology, the instrumentation has gotten so good that we're finding whole new worlds. We're discovering whole new worlds at the rate of about 2 per day. Now think about that.
Really?
Wow.
We're finding whole new worlds at an average rate of about 2 per day. And that rate is going up. In 10 years from now, we'll be detecting them at the rate of 10 per day. We'll know of 100,000 planets.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just this morning, I had to go to the Encyclopedia of Exoplanets to find out how many are known. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody knew how many planets there were. But now
You're right.
you have to check a daily index to find out how many planets we've discovered. And it's just around 3,600 planets.
So how are they discovered? Is it visually? Is there some kind of a radio signal that tells you there's something there?
Well, it's visual, but it's in most cases it's indirect. That is, we look at the planets and how they gravitationally interact with the central star. They tug on it, and then sometimes a planet will move in front of the central star, and it dims the light. Both of those ways have been used very successfully to detect planets, even smaller than the Earth, and that technology is relatively new. Most of the planets have been discovered in the past 10 years.
Could the moon be considered a central star?
The moon?
Uh-huh.
Now, stars are really fundamentally different than planets. Stars glow by their own energy source. Like our sun has nuclear fusion in the interior of it that causes it to shine. Planets, on the other hand, tend to shine by reflected light. Like when we look at the moon, we're seeing reflected sunlight. When we look at the sun, we're seeing light that's generated inside of it by nuclear fusion. And the same thing about the Earth. When you look at the Earth from space, you're looking at reflected sunlight. And to some extent, we can detect reflected light from planets around other stars. That's the hardest thing to do right now in terms of direct imaging. But it's only going to be another 10 years before we're going to have pictures of the planets around nearby stars. Not real fine pictures, but we'll be able to see continents or polar caps or whether they're storm systems. I mean, that's not too far away.
Every once in a while, there'll be a story about asteroids crashing in onto the surface of Jupiter, and Jupiter has. I'm not an expert and I'm not even close to a kindergarten student in this topic. So, but I always wondered about this. If the gravity of Jupiter is so big that it can actually protect us from asteroids, so they'll crash into it instead of into us. That almost sounds like the whole solar system was designed, and not to bring religion into this topic, but I mean, what is your thought? I mean, is that like a prerequisite for life on a planet, is to have some other big planet further out so that asteroids don't crash into it? Yeah,
there's a tendency to think that Jupiter protects the Earth, and to some extent it does. But there's evidence of huge asteroid impacts on the Earth throughout Earth history. If you study the surface geology of the Earth, you can see over 100 impact craters in the surface features. And some of those impacts were just enormous to the extent of wiping out all the life on Earth. Like 64 million years ago, there was an asteroid impact, a small one, an object only about 10 kilometers across that hit the Gulf of Mexico and wiped out the dinosaurs. That's a well-studied event. So these things do hit the Earth. In fact, most of the water on the Earth, we think, came from comets and asteroids hitting the Earth early in Earth history. It's just that right now, the rate at which these things happen is rather small. It's not insignificant. In 1908, there was an object about a kilometer across, mostly ice, we think, that hit Siberia. It's called the Tunguska event, and it flattened forest for hundreds of miles away.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, and those kind of things still happen about once every century. We're sort of due for another one.
Oh my gosh, due for another one. Well, it's interesting that a ball of ice hit Siberia. I mean, maybe Florida would get a ball of sand or something. I don't know. All right,
yeah,
Michael, let me.
But if it hits,
go ahead. Well, we just have to take a break. That's all. But we're not going away. The book is called Exoplanets. If you're looking at the streaming video, that's the cover of the book on the video there. Because Michael's not in the studio; he's on the phone. We'll be right back. I've got so many questions about this topic. I would have to pay you just to ask all these questions. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Some sun followed by clouds. We'll have a thunder shower around in the afternoon today. Breezy and warm, high of 84 to 89, and then partly to mostly cloudy tonight, a low 67 to 70. Sun and clouds tomorrow with a breeze, high of 86 to 92. Looks like it's going to stay very warm on Wednesday with some sun and highs of 89 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
There are only a few things in life that you can be certain will always be around: death, taxes, the pursuit of happiness, and computers. As they continue to advance at an epic pace, the one absolute certainty about them is that they'll break. It's not an if, it's a when. And when it happens, bring it to the only company in Ocala that's certified in Apple and Microsoft, Ocala Mac and PC Repair. They even offer on-site computer repair service, so they come to you. And if you do drop it off, you can check your repair status online. Ocala Mac and PC Repair is a family-owned and operated company that can do everything from mobile repair to wireless networks, fixing viruses, data recovery, even building and installing new systems. Visit online at ocalamacpc.com. In person, 1713 East Silver Springs Boulevard, or give them a call, 352-566-8324. That's 352-566-8324. Ocala Mac and PC Repair.
Ocala Business Leaders Incorporated is a group of independent local firms providing a wide range of quality goods and services. Each firm strives to maintain the highest level of professional integrity and 100% customer satisfaction. When you're looking for goods and services, call a member of the Ocala Business Leaders, and we are confident you will be pleased with the results. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Ocala Business Leaders, join us at the Ocala Elks Lodge, 25th Avenue in Ocala, any Wednesday at 7 a.m. and enjoy a breakfast on us. For more information, check OcalaBusinessLeaders.com.
All right, 23 minutes after 10 o'clock, we are listening to WOCA, and we are broadcasting, and the signal is leaving the planet, and it's traveling at the speed of light, and 40 years from now, people on these planets 40 light years away will hear us. but hopefully they'll have batteries in their radios by then. Our guest is Michael Summers, and this book is so exciting. It's called Exoplanets, and Michael wrote it with James Treffel. And if you're looking at the streaming video, you see the cover of the book. Michael, one question that I actually never thought about, but the book made me think about this, is this. Do planets, in order to sustain life, need to have magnetic poles?
It's not clear. In order to have life like us, life that walks around on the surface, you probably do need a magnetic field. And the reason is that our sun puts out ultraviolet and charged particles, and the charged particles in the form of solar wind, and they can be deadly to biology. And it's our magnetic field that diverts that wind of charged particles or radiation around the Earth. So for complex life, probably so. But you could think about life in the ocean. Even if you didn't have a magnetic field, life in the ocean would be just fine because all the particles would be absorbed by the surface waters. So some planets probably do need a magnetic field if you have life on the surface, but I suspect that there's a lot of life in the universe that's underground or in oceans, and some of the worlds we're finding are almost all water. And so in a case like that, the magnetic field in the outside environment is completely irrelevant. What happens underneath the surface is what determines whether the life there.
Obviously over my head, but here's where the question came from. The question came from the piece in the book about a planet called Kepler 186f. And one of the things it says in the article is it's very Earth-like, and it has a magnetic field.
Yeah, detecting magnetic fields around planets elsewhere is really difficult. But what we can guess, and it's sort of an educated guess based upon how we understand the laws of physics. If you have a planet bigger than the Earth, or about the size of the Earth or bigger, and it's relatively young and it rotates, then it probably has a magnetic field. I mean, that's just based upon the study of the Earth. If it doesn't rotate, if it's a slow rotator, it may not have a magnetic field. But detecting that directly is still beyond our capability.
Can you imagine if it didn't rotate? When would you go to sleep? I mean,
yeah, right.
Well, I mean, it could rotate very slowly. I mean, think about the moon. It rotates once every 27 days. It always has the same face to the Earth. That's what we call tidally locked. And there are planets like that in the universe that have the same face to the sun all the time, so that the night side is totally dark, permanently dark, and the day side is permanently light. Wow. And so those are real worlds. I mean, we know of cases like that, many cases like that.
Why do you think we're exploring worlds like Mars that obviously don't have any water on the top, but you have just said that other planets do have water? How come we don't explore those first?
Well, Mars is vastly easier to explore. These planets around other stars they're too far away. I mean, it's going to be another 100, 200 years before we're going to be able to study them robotically. But Mars is interesting. It once had an ocean of water. We know that it had enough water to cover the surface to a depth of maybe 2 kilometers or so. So it once had an ocean of water. And because it didn't have a magnetic field, we think it lost that water to space. That water it flowed off into space over millions of years early in the history of Mars. So Mars was once habitable too. And our reason for studying Mars is to see how habitable it was and if life was there. If life was there early in Mars history, it could still be there underground. And that's one of the key reasons we're trying to study Mars carefully and understand its history and what could be underground. But there's another bigger reason, and I think this is the reason we study planets in general, is that with Earth we only have one example of what a planet is like. I mean, think about a physician that only had one patient in their entire career. They wouldn't know if what they're seeing is something healthy or deadly. They wouldn't know if cancer is good or bad until they saw what happened to the patient. But by studying other patients, you can get a sense of what's normal and what a baseline is for humans. By studying other planets, it helps us understand the Earth. It helps us understand what's sort of natural for the Earth and what humans are doing to it. So the more planets we study, and by comparing those with the Earth, we're able to sort out all the different factors that go into making a planet habitable and things that might make the planet uninhabitable. And that's a big issue right now for the Earth.
Wow.
The book is called Exoplanets. Michael Summers is who you're listening to. He and James Treffel wrote this book. I have a copy of it if you would like the one I have. I don't want to give it away, but I will buy my own. It's got some amazing artwork in it, too, by the way, of what it might look like on some of these other planets. But those who, if you're going to buy the book, you need to go to a website, I guess, or a bookstore. Michael, do you have a website? Let's start there.
George Mason University hosts a website for all the faculty. So just go to the George Mason website, type in my name, and you'll get to our department. Okay. But you can get the book on Amazon. It has a nice write-up of it there.
Okay. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
This is Jim Penna.
Jim, you've got it. It'll be waiting for you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. One real quick question. I know it's not an exoplanet, but Europa, the moon around Jupiter, does that look promising as a possible life-sustaining place?
Well, Europa's in that category of planets that has a subsurface ocean of liquid water. And in the case of Europa, it has an ice crust which is not too thick, maybe a few tens of kilometers thick. And underneath that, there's a liquid water ocean. And we know it's salty. And we know
Wow.
we think that it may have organic materials in it. We don't know that actually yet.
Wow.
But it has the right temperature and the right raw materials and energy to support simple life. So that makes it a very good place to look. We don't know yet, but that's why we're looking.
Michael, I have enjoyed this so much. It just went too fast. The book again, Exoplanets. Look for it everywhere books are sold, and just go to the bookstore. Michael Summers, thank you for being on the air with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for your interest.
You're welcome. We will be right back.
Or to Panhandle and then stretching north into Alabama and Georgia.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz. A Senate panel expected to endorse Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court today. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wants a full Senate vote by Friday.
Republicans may change Senate rules to force a simple majority vote using the nuclear option designed to get rid of the filibuster.
Mitch calls it a filibuster. We call it the 60-vote standard.
Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer on NBC's Meet the Press.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland. Russian media report at least 10 dead in a St. Petersburg subway explosion. One official says it looks like a terrorist attack. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Napa know-how.
The Napa Bucket is on sale for $2.99. It's engineered from high-quality plastic, and it comes with a metal handle to make it portable. You're probably thinking, that sounds like any old bucket, but it's not, because regular buckets don't get you 20% off almost anything you put in it. So pick up a Napa Bucket today and get 20% off the parts you need. That's Napa Know-How.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Minimum 3 items. Some exclusions apply. Offer good while supplies last.
HelloFresh delivers recipes and ingredients for a home-cooked meal in around 30 minutes. Like this recipe. Start with a working couple. Add 2 demanding jobs. Mix all too well. Receive HelloFresh delivery. Trim off temptation to order pizza. Follow step-by-step recipe until holy ravioli. You can add mushroom ravioli gratin to your resumes. Fist bump and enjoy. Delicious ingredients you'll love to eat. Simple recipes you'll live to cook. HelloFresh. Get cooking. Get $20 off your first delivery plus free shipping at hellofresh.com/radio.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY only $4.99. Plus DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious